Thank you, and hello, everybody. I'd like to start on a little bit personal note and say that it is a big privilege for me to speak here for two reasons. And those reasons are that two of my main interests are architecture and history. And I guess for you, this is day-to-day to be here in this building, but it's the first time for me. Starting with architecture, it's, as all of you know, I'm sure, designed by Alvar Aalto, and I'm a big fan of his, and I can't help just watching the interior here and see how nice it is. And then I did my homework as well, and that goes to the other piece of my interest about history, that almost 37 years ago, the Helsinki Accord was obviously signed here. And I can't help thinking when I was sitting here that who out of those 35 key politicians were sitting in my chair? Was it Urho Kekkonen? Was it Olof Palme? Was it Leonid Brezhnev? Or was it Gerald Ford? I can encourage you to look at the list of the delegates. It's fantastic to see the more or less who's who of the politics of the 70s when you look at that. Now, anyway, I'm also proud to be here. Since this is an event that I've heard about a lot of times, so it's fantastic to be able to be here for the first time. 11th year in a row for the event, and as Sonera has been in the game as a key founder of it, I'm also very proud to have the chance to speak to all of you. I will go through the agenda in 3 steps. The past, the present, and the future, to put it that way. In the past, I'll make some connections to what Mikko talked about. I'll summarize from our perspective some of the key things that occurred in 2011. To a large extent, it will be in the typical security fashion, pointing out some of the threats and some of the bad stuff that happened. Then I'll move into the present, the current state. I'll present some fresh facts out of our statistics about what's going on in the networks. Also make some connection to the Cisco speech there. And then summarizing and looking a little bit ahead from our perspective and see maybe not only what's going to happen, but actually what we can do together to make sure that we control the destiny a little bit. So if we start about 2011 and some of the key things that occurred. There were 4 major things that we would like to bring up. Some hacking of the public key infrastructure, connecting to some of the key data breaches that happened. Mikko mentioned APT. I'll go through that a little bit, as it means the advanced persistent threats. And then the topic of firewalls. Public key infrastructure in 2011. In a way, 2011 was an anniversary for us at Sonera. It's 10 years since we first issued our own certificate, root certificate. We also passed a milestone of having issued now more than 5 million certificates from our system. And for the 8th year in a row, as far as we know, we are the only Nordic CA that has the Web Trust seal. So we felt that many reasons for us to celebrate 2011 when it comes to PKI. However, in general, 2011 was not the year to celebrate when it comes to PKI. It was more of a remarkable year where there were 3 distinct incidents that happened, the Komodo, the DigiNotar, and the Global Sign incidents. And obviously, they have a bit of a connection to some of the stuff that Mikko talked about. As if we start with the Komodo incident, where somebody were compromising a registration authority of a retail partner of Komodo. and then finally got 9 fake certificates issued for players like Google, Yahoo, and Mozilla. And this was then traced back to an IP address that originated in Tehran, Iran. And if you follow the media, that person then claimed that one of the reasons that he or she did this was that he or she got so upset with the Stuxnet incident that happened earlier. So this was a way to put some revenge back to those who were behind the Stuxnet. True or not, we don't know, but at least that was claimed in the media. And this had a pretty tough business impact on Comodo. That's maybe the key point for us here. And then even worse, in July, the Dutch certificate authority, DigiNotar, were subject to a pretty similar attack, where even more, there were a dozen of fraudulent certificates that were created by the attackers. Again, making it possible to get fake certificates for Google, Yahoo, and Mozilla and others. And it was used as a man-in-the-middle attack to attack Google. And what then happened was that this was extremely serious to the business. The Dutch government finally took over DigiNotar, and the business were more or less gone, so they had to declare bankruptcy back in September. Then, in September, the third one, Global Sign occurred. It first started out as a media thing, saying that something similar possibly happened to Global Sign. There was a bit of confusion, and then it was based on the fact that this person, Comodo hacker, said that he or she did this. And finally, when all the dust had settled in December, it turned out that it was not to the same level as the Comodo and DigiNotar things, but indeed, one of the public websites were hacked. So it was a pretty severe reputation issue for Global Sign. And just recently, maybe, I'm not sure if you saw it, but there was again now in the media a story about that even VeriSign were subject to a similar thing back in 2010. Nothing confirmed, but it certainly tells us that this is a high-profile chain of incidents that happened that we all need to be aware of. It's also so that the fundamental technology behind PKI is good and very useful and future-proof. What all these 3 incidents learned us, it's more about how we build things, how the processes, how the performance, how the integration around this are done, and making it, in many of the cases, difficult to keep a holistic view on what's going on within the company. So that's really where the challenge is. Nothing wrong with the technology, good and proven technology, but the way how we deal with things is really the issue. The funny thing here is that we were also contacted. So this is a screenshot of an email that we received. And as you can tell here, hello dude, is maybe not the most common way to start a business interaction in the area of PKI certificates. Coincidence or not, but as you can see here that the request is to ask if it's possible to buy certificates from us to use in Iran. And the strange thing is that we are certainly not really actively marketing our PKI service, and certainly not outside of the Nordics, and absolutely not in this particular region. The key thing here is that you can be sure that immediately when our supervision system discovered this, our experts were alerted, and our 24-hour operations were put to higher attention, and we certainly further made sure to take measures to tighten against any kind of things that happen to these guys. Second thing then, the data breaches. When you think about it, I'm sure that you were aware of that a lot of things happened in 2011. And a good way to summarize this is from this comic. can't wait for that to happen, to come out right. Now, the thing here is that there were several instances that happened during 2011 in almost any country in the world. And I think that all of you who are gaming or have children or family that are gaming noticed that in spring last year you couldn't reach the Sony PlayStation network for, I don't remember if it was a month, where somebody were getting through and stealing all the private information from PlayStation Network. And following media, it was also the friends that Mikko talked about, the team within or behind or associated to Anonymous that claimed that they did this as well. Several different breaches happened also in the Nordic region, in my home country, and also here in Finland. The attack of the healthcare and lifestyle service portal Terve.fi happened, where, if I understand right, more than 70,000 pieces of user information were again compromised and leaked out. We recently had the Stratfor attack, where, and as you know, Stratfor is a strategy company working with many of the biggest companies. So a lot of user information for even Finnish companies were leaked out of that attack. Sometimes we almost hear on this so much that on a daily basis that we start to get numb. This is just part of day-to-day business. And here's where it's starting to become dangerous when we take this as a normal way of life. It's time to freeze in the line of fire. We should never tolerate this. We need to do what we typically do when there is criminal activity like this. Look at each and every case, gather all forces together, work together, and just resolve this, make sure it doesn't happen. Work with the government, with whoever. Again, very much to some of the pieces that Mickey pointed out. As you probably know, the European Commission has also acted in this and coming up with a proposal to streamline the legislation around this on a European level, as this is affecting everybody in Europe, since we have an open market. We are actively following this, and it really seems that this will have a pretty significant impact to how companies need to treat their user data, how they need to act if something happens, that they are going to be forced to be open about it, so end users can take action. This is nothing new for a service provider like Telia Sonera. We are pretty used to have to follow legislation and ruling. But certainly when this comes through, this is something that will affect every single organization in Europe. So something really to be concerned with. The third thing, the advanced persistent threat that Mickey talked about. I would like to, even though I don't like acronyms, I would like to spend a little bit time on that and read to you what the authority, Bruce Schneier, how he is defining the acronym. An advanced persistent threat is different. It's an attacker who, for whatever reason, wants to attack you. APT attackers are more highly motivated. They're likely to be better skilled, better funded, and more patient. They're likely to try several different avenues of attack, and they're much more likely to succeed. Against this sort of attacker, the absolute level of your security is what's important. It doesn't matter how secure you are compared to your peers. All that matters is whether you're secure enough to keep him out. Further examples of this in 2011, there was an incident for RSA where an attacker broke into their systems and were stealing the information behind the secure ID tokens. And this had consequences for many different companies that were using the secure IDs. And we have a large customer base that are using secure ID, so they were concerned as well. And RSA finally had to offer to replace all those useless tokens with new that were not vulnerable to this information. And we now know that this is not an isolated case either. The blog Krebs List on Security during 2011, who is very well informed, is a security expert that used to work for one of the biggest newspapers in the United States, wrote that at least 760 organizations last year were compromised in similar ways as to Sony PlayStation, Terve.fi, or RSA. And almost 20% of the Fortune 100 companies were on the list. So this can happen to anyone. It's becoming real. A very serious tool in how these advanced threats or attacks are happening are the DDoS attacks. And I'm sure all of you know that it means distributed denial of service, where someone really can blast so much traffic onto your website so it's not possible to reach it. And this can be done for many different reasons. Maybe to distract the site owner from something else, maybe to penetrate it, to catalyze a hole in the system, or to just be a pain. Over the weekend, not sure if you heard about that, but the website of the Swedish government was subject to an attack, so it was impossible to reach that for a while. And it was again the friends of the people of Anonymous that claimed that they were the ones behind it, and they did it since they did not agree with the ACTA treaty. The fourth thing in 2011 was a little bit of debate regarding firewalls. Firewalls have been around for, I think, forever. I've been in the industry for a little bit more than 20 years, and I think they have been around almost all that time. And the debate around firewalls and whether they are obsolete or not, that debate got a little bit louder last year. And the argument from the people that claiming that firewalls are obsolete is that they are from the old dark age. They are not adequate enough. It's not enough anymore to segment your network, do divisions based on IP ports or IP addresses, because most of the threats are coming from the layers on top, like the applications, like downloads, like the emails and so on. So no use in firewalls anymore. Now, as you know, we operate a firewall service that a lot of customers are very happy with, and we would like to just, if there is any doubt, make a statement on this. I'm sure you don't even consider that, but don't unplug your firewall today, because it makes a lot of sense still. Absolutely. Compared to like 20 years ago when it actually was enough with a firewall, it's absolutely not enough, not whatsoever. But making network segmentation it's more relevant than ever to build a nice and well-defined hierarchical network, not only for security reasons, but for traffic maintenance reasons, but also for security reasons. And the fact is that most firewalls in the marketplace, both the ones that we base our service on and also others, they can do much more, and they can take a big role in the overall protection that we need to provide. So we'd like to see the firewalls as a hammer in the toolbox, and all of you know that there is still a very good place for the hammer in the toolbox, but the hammer is best used by a professional, and that's how we like to see our service in the area of firewalls. So, 2011, a lot of things happened that we need to be concerned with. What's going on now? And here's where we want to share some fresh facts. The first piece is now a little bit of good news after all this serious bad news that you've heard earlier today. And the good news is this one. This is statistics from OECD about the number of infected sources per subscriber at service providers. And we can be quite happy to be in the country with the cleanest networks. And you can also see from the statistics that the Nordics is really topping the list with having number 1, number 6, number 9, and number 11 positions. So basically, very, very clean. And you also see that there is a fundamental difference between the networks in our region and the networks that are the most effective. So we are doing some very good things here. An additional good news for hopefully most of you is that Ficora is also publishing a study looking at one level of detail down at how clean are the service provider networks. And it's certainly so when you look at their figures and when you compare it to the market share or the traffic load, however you define the size of the network of the service provider, Sonera is coming out of having a much cleaner situation relative to its market size. So we would like to make a statement that the customers that are using us, they can be happy to be running on the cleanest network in the cleanest country. Next piece of statistics is that here's some statistics on use. It's an anonymized statistics, but it's the overall enterprise end user base that we can see from our CleanServe service. So what are enterprise end users in general doing? And this is the number of game page sites that these users are going to. And you can see that Facebook and Alipay is pretty common for people to do. Now, you can argue that they should not be doing this. It's not productive. It certainly causes a security threat. But can you really enforce that people don't do it? If you work every day, every hour of the day, even in the weekends, can't you really be running games on the machine? Maybe it's better that you actually allow that, but ask people to do it while they are connected to the network, so that the traffic and the applications are subject to the normal content filtering systems and security systems that you have, rather than that they connect straight to the internet. On the same thread, 20% of the time is being spent on social networking and media. Also based on our end user enterprise customer base here. Again, you can argue this is something that you shouldn't do, but here it's becoming even more tricky to make that argument, because there's a lot of relevance in going to Facebook and going to some media sites. It could actually be part of your job. All of us many of us are advertising and do marketing over Facebook, so it can't be stopped. You also see the increase of a TV video stream here. So again, the argument is that set a tight policy, but balance the security with the need for being able to do business, but also employee satisfaction. Allow it, but make sure it's done in a safe way so that you are protected. In the Cisco presentation, you heard a lot about bring your own device, and here's another fresh piece of statistics that there are today in the market being sold more than 15 different mobile platforms. And certainly the new Windows Mobile haven't even really taken up yet. So the fragmentation on the platform side will continue. The bring your own device trend, it will continue. It will make it even more difficult for us to have a consistent, holistic security. On the other hand, it's making life tougher also for the bad guys, because in order to make a widespread threat, it was easier in the good old days for them when all pieces were Windows and the mobile devices were just Symbian. Now it's much more difficult. Now, closing this and looking a little bit at the way forward. In LinkedIn, the information security team there had a bit of a quiz or quest where everybody was asked to put one word that describes the biggest challenge in information security today. And then we build this picture showing what the most frequent answers were. And here's where I think everything that we have talked about this morning are coming together. Users, ignorance, awareness, people. It's not so much per se about technology, but it's about what we do with the technology, how people handle it, the processes, the policies. And here's a snapshot. Here are all the set of services that we have that can help you to protect your network and your users. And then if you combine that with the other people here at the session and the entire industry, there is no lack of technology. We can protect ourselves and we can do this. The challenge is to make sure that we work with the people, we work with the policies, we work with the processes, and we do that together. And here's where we can make a change. Will 2012 be another year of media where there are threats and attacks that are exposed in the media, or will 2012 be the year where we actually say that we made a big improvement? And here's the call out for everybody. Let's work together on this. Let's use the tools. Let's use them together and make sure that we make that security is becoming a business enabler rather than a pain and a cost. We can do that together. If you would like to follow what's going on from our side, and if you understand Finnish, we would like to invite you to follow us on Twitter, on this Sonera_security, where all the news in the industry from us will be published. A very good way to follow what's happening in the security. So with that, starting with what happened in 2011, some really serious threats, some of the trends in 12, bring your own application sort of, and bring your own device, complicating lives, but there are tools, there are processes, there are services that you can use. Let's work together and ensure that we continue to do a very good job in securing our networks, users, and businesses. Thanks a lot.